Yeah, YouTube, how's it going? Everybody got for you guys today another really good and really close Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire Wi-Fi battle. This time it's going to be against Mark. His Twitter link and channel link will be down in the description, so make sure to go check him out. And before I get into the battle, I just want to say, guys, I think what I'm going to start doing is a question of the day. So of course, if you guys would like to answer that, then make sure to do that in the comment section below. And it's a way for me to be more interactive with you guys, because I really do enjoy reading y'all's comments. And of course, if you do enjoy the battle, then make sure to hit that like button. So with that being said, let's get into the match. So going into this battle, the biggest threats I saw on Mark's side of the field were going to be the Talonflame and Greninja, just because if Talonflame sets up a Swords Dance or two, it could possibly sweep me, and nothing on my team safely switches into Greninja. So he ends up leading off with the Talonflame, as I lead off with my Landers. After the Intimidate, even if he's Adamant Bandit, I should be able to live any one move that he wants to go for, but I'm predicting him to not want to risk me going straight for a Stone Edge, and I'm actually going to go for the U-turn, predicting him to want to switch out or go for a U-turn of his own. But then I would be able to outspeed him and knock him out if I did go for Stone Edge. But I went for U-turn because I was pretty positive he would switch out. As he does bring in Landers, I bring in my Chestnut because Landers don't tend to carry Toxic in OU, they tend to carry that in Ubers. So his Landers should literally be able to do nothing to me, as I go straight for the Leech Seed, thinking that he would actually hard switch out into Talonflame, predicting me to go for the Spiky Shield. But no, he decides to go straight for the U-turn on out into Talonflame, as I am able to get off the Leech Seed. And this is really good for me, just because if he does turn out to be a Swords Dance variant, my Heatran will have a bit of an easier time taking it on, just because it will also be gaining Leech Seed recovery on top of Leftovers recovery. So he makes a very nice play, predicts my Spiky Shield, and he goes for the Roost. Obviously, I do not want to risk going for the Spiky Shield again, so I'm going to be forced to switch out into my Heatran, as he revealed to me that he had the Roost, and then he's going to end up going for the Brave Bird. And seeing that he has no Leftovers, no Life Orb, he's most likely a Sharp Beak or Sky Plate, as the Brave Bird does do a decent little bit of damage, but because I do have the Leech Seed, it practically did nothing to me actually, which means if he does want to stay in, as I mentioned earlier, I will definitely be able to beat him one-on-one. So I'm going to predict him to want to switch out into the Slowbro, and what I'm going to do is actually go for the Stealth Rocks. I guess I could have gone for the Toxic actually, if he did want to start Swords Dancing, but I knew that getting on my rocks as soon as possible was probably going to be more beneficial to me in this match, as I miss Toxic, which does kind of suck, but it's not game changing in the long run. Although at the time it was really frustrating, because I wanted to keep Heatran at as much HP as possible, but I also don't want to allow this potential Mega Slowbro to start setting up on me and sweep me. So I'm going to be forced to go for the Toxic again, as he makes the aggressive play and goes for the Scald, as I believe he actually got a higher damage roll with that Scald. And I'm going to switch out this turn. Oh no, sorry, I'm going to go for Protect, then switch out next turn, because what I want to do is start racking up the Toxic damage, plus I want to be able to gain back a little bit more of a Leftovers recovery, as he makes a nice play and he predicts that, or most likely went for the Calm Mind, knowing that I really couldn't do anything to him. And either way though, I'm in a very bad situation if I do decide to stay in, so I'm going to be forced to switch out, as I bring in my Greninja, thinking, okay, if he goes for another Calm Mind, it won't be too bad. But he actually goes for the Skull, which I know I can easily take, though. He gets a crit, and this crit actually plays a major role near the end of this battle. So he is going to be forced to switch out, because a Dark Pulse is going to be doing a huge amount of damage to the Slowbro, even if he is at +1 special defense. Heck, I may even be able to knock him out. So he does decide to make the safe switch into the Ferrothorn. Unfortunately, I do not have Hidden Power Fire on this Greninja, so I'm going to be forced to switch out, as I actually bring in my Chestnut, thinking that he may want to go for a Leech Seed, predicting me to want to bring in my Heatran. But he actually ends up going for a Lair Spikes, which I'm really not too bothered about, because I will be able to beat this Ferrothorn one-on-one, because I do have Stabbed, super effective Drain Punch, as he actually tries to be sneaky and brings in his Talonflame. But thankfully, I'm going to be able to finish him off, which means one of his two threats is gone. I no longer have to worry about it. Unfortunately, here comes threat number 2 though. So this turn, obviously, I do not want to take an Ice Beam, so I'm going to be forced to switch out, as I decide just to fodder off my Latios, because as long as he has his Ferrothorn running around, I will not be able to do anything with my Latios. So at this point, Latios was the most expendable team member on my team, as he easily knocks me out with the Ice Beam. I can now get a free switch into my Scarf Landers, which will indeed be faster than Greninja, because he's not Scarf, because he did take Life Orb damage, and he's going to end up bringing in the Landers. I was actually very close to going for the Earthquake, but ultimately I decided to go for the U-turn just because I felt that the switch out was kind of obvious, and at the same time I thought that he may want to stay in thinking that he could take a U-turn, but either way, U-turn was definitely my better play in that situation. And much like earlier, Landers should not be able to do anything to my chestnut, so I can get a free switch into it and I can start getting up my spikes, or I can start going for a leech seed, just predicting him to want to switch out. And I believe I do actually end up going for the drain punch this turn, predicting him to want to U-turn on now into the Ferrothorn, thinking that I may not be able to do anything to him. But that was kind of dumb on my part because I already revealed to him that I had the drain punch. So if anything, I should have definitely gone for the leech seed this turn, or at least the layer of spikes to start getting up my hazards. More hazards, sorry. But in the long run, it's not really going to be that big of an issue as he brings in the Slowbro. I'm really not worried about the Slowbro because I'm thinking that he most likely has Side Shock, and because I'm physically defensive without any boost, Slowbro shouldn't be able to do too much damage to me. As he decides to go for the Calm Mind, I guess maybe thinking that I would want to switch out. But either way though, this Slowbro is toxic, it's leech seeded. Eventually I will be able to beat this one-on-one, even if he does turn out to be Mega Slowbro, which means I really have nothing to worry about this thing, as I believe I stay in next turn, just not only allowing the toxic damage to rack up, but also wanting to start getting up my hazards, my spikes. And then he pulls out the rest. Oh, when I saw that, I was like, crap. This thing has just become major threat number 2, I guess you could say, because Talonflame is gone. So I'm going to switch directly into my Greninja because he only has a 33% chance to pull Scald. Even at +2 Spadef and Dark Pulse will still be doing a solid chunk of damage to the Slowbro if he decides to stay in. But thankfully for me, he pulls the rest. Above that, I'm going to be able to gain back a bit of recovery with the Leech Seed. And much like earlier, I'm in a situation where I can just click Dark Pulse and get off damage, or possibly knock out whatever he decides to bring in. As he makes a safe play, he's going to bring in the Ferrothorn. And I believe after these entry hazard damage, a stabbed neutral Dark Pulse with Life Orb is actually going to be an easy 2 KO. But it turns out that he actually has the Protect, as you're about to see. And actually, while I'm on this topic, is it just me, or does anybody find it weird that Ferrothorn didn't get Spiky Shield? Like, I can understand that Cacturn got it, but I mean, Ferrothorn with Spiky Shield would actually make a lot of sense. I don't know why they didn't give it Spiky Shield. I really wish they had, although it would definitely be more annoying, but that's just my opinion. So this turn I switch into my Chestnut, thinking he may want to go for the Leech Seed, but he actually ends up going for the Gyro Ball, and thanks to my Bulletproof, I will not be affected by it. Even then, it probably wouldn't have done any damage to me. As I predicted him to go for the Protect, I'm going to go for Lair Spikes, but he actually ends up going for the Spikes of his own, which I found to be a little bit odd, because I'm guessing he thought he could live with Drain Punch. But as you're about to see, if I did go for the Drain Punch as opposed to going for Lair Spikes, I actually would have been able to knock him out. And if I did do that, oh my lord, that would have saved me so much, most likely, at the end of this match. So he just barely lives as he gets up his third layer of spikes, which is rather annoying because I did lose my Latios, which means his 3 layers of spikes will be here for the remainder of the battle. But at the same time, I'm not entirely too worried about them, as I'm going to be able to finally finish off this Ferrothorn with the Drain Punch, which means now I can kind of play more recklessly with my Heatran, because the main reason I wanted to keep Heatran was as a backup to be able to take down this Ferrothorn, because on the options that I did lose Chestnut, I saw Heatran to take out Ferrothorn, as opposed to having my Latios, which is why I fought it off earlier. So he's going to bring in the Greninja. Obviously, I do not want to stay in and take any move that he wants to go for. So what I'm going to do is actually just fodder off my Heatran at this point. As I mentioned, it is now the most expendable team member on my team. As he decides to go for the Ice Beam, this is actually really good for me because I'm going to be able to live this, and he's going to have to take an extra 10% recoil damage from Life Orb, bringing him down further and further, to the point where I'm probably going to force him to stay in, because even if he switches out, when he switches back in, he's probably going to get knocked out by the spikes and the stealth rocks. So seeing at how much HP is that, I'm thinking he might actually be able to live another switch in and be able to get off another hit, but he decides just to fodder off his Greninja, because I guess nothing really safely switches into my Landers at this point. I guess he could switch in his own Landers, but then again, if it did that, I would still be able to just weaken that, allow my Gallade to possibly sweep him, as I do bring in Gallade. And the reason why I brought in Gallade is because he still has that Terrakion on his team. and if that Terrakion is scarfed, I would rather have my Gallade take a hit from it than my Greninja. So he ends up bringing the Landorus. I'm going to go ahead and Mega Evolve because I know I should be able to live any one move that he wants to go for. So what I'm going to do is actually go for the Swords Dance, thinking that he would go for the U-turn on out into his Terrakion, or maybe even his Slowbro. As he does end up bringing the Terrakion, I was really hoping that he wouldn't be Choice Scarfed, and that right now is my biggest fear, and it turns out that he is Scarfed as he's able to outspeed my Gallade. I do manage to just barely live though, and in return destroy him with a close combat. Unfortunately, with me being only at +1 attack, once he brings back in his Landorus, I will be at neutral attack, which means a Zen Headbutt, which is my hardest hitting move to hit this Landorus with, will not be able to knock him out unless I get a flinch, which I do not get, as he decides to go for the U-turn on out into a Slowbro. At this point, my only hope to win this battle is for my Greninja to not only live the 3 layers of spikes, but to live with enough HP to where I can get off 2 Life Orb hits. That's all I need to happen. So he brings in Slowbro, I bring in my Greninja, and unfortunately, because of the crit skull he got earlier in the match and that 3rd layer of spikes, I will not be able to have enough HP to get off 2 Life Orb hits. And he knows this, so he's going to decide to fodder off his Landorus, and my Greninja will go down to Life Orb Recoil. And with his Slowbro being his last Pokemon, and it being a Rest Talk Slowbro, and my last 2 Pokemon being Chestnut and Landorus, which do not hit it for super effective damage, that's not stab anyways, he will be able to win this match in a 1-0 in his favor, because he can just Mega Evolve, and if he's max defense, max HP, which he most likely is after a couple Calm Minds, I will not be able to touch him, and he just, yeah, that's it, that's game. Because of that crit he got earlier with the Skull, that really saved him here, and me misplaying with Chestnut and not going straight for Drain Punch also saved them. But in the end, it was still a very fun battle. I decided just to run, which is why the battle cuts off there, because there was really nothing that I could do, and I didn't want to waste like 40 extra minutes just sitting there trying to get off as much damage as I could on him. But yeah, that was a game. It was definitely a good one. I am a little bit upset that I lost because I don't like to lose, but hey, in the end, I still had fun. And of course, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button. And with that being said, guys, I will see you all tomorrow. So, later, everybody.